This is Austin Theory, and you're listening to the Babyfaces Podcast only on iHeartRadio.
This is NWA Superstar Grayson Waller, and you are listening to the Babyfaces on iHeartRadio.
What's going on, y'all? It's WWE Superstar Kofi Kingston, and you're listening to the Babyfaces on iHeartRadio, baby!
Right, guys, you hear that music. That means we are back. Another edition of the Babyfaces Podcast on iHeartRadio, powered by 97.5 WAMZ, Kentuckiana's number one for new country. What's up, guys? I'm your co-host, Austin, ATM on air. If you want to give me a follow on, it's so weird writing that now, X. Like, I'm so used to writing. Me and Billy have this thing, Aaron. Like, what are we supposed to say? Like, X us, tweet us. Like, it's just you can follow me. Who cares about me? I'm just your co-host. Our guy Billy. He's down in Nashville this week. He's with the real movers and shakers of country music down with iHeart. So anybody that makes a difference in the world of radio, they are down there, and that's our guy Billy. So I'm flying solo with friend of the show. I'm talking Aron the Idol Stevens making his return. You guys may know him as Damian Sandow from his WWE days, and he's known as Aron the Idol Stevens on NWA. And back when I was growing up watching Ohio Valley Wrestling right here in our backyard, I'm talking about the guy that was the one of the main heels, and he just like, I'm not gonna lie, Aaron, like I love you now, but like when I was a little kid, right, when I was a little kid, and I was like the magic was still there to me, like, dude, I hated you. I'm not gonna lie.
The nicest thing you could say to me, really. That's the coolest thing you could say. It's always funny, man. Like the Aron the Idol Stevens, that's like that OG Louisville kind of like that. Only an OVW fan would intro me like that, and I think that's so awesome. So I thank you for that. That's always I feel like I'm home when I hear that to a degree. It's like
absolutely. How you doing, man? How you doing now, man? Welcome back to the show. What's going on? Where do you find yourself tonight?
I'm actually in the Ville right now.
Look at that.
And yeah, no, things are great actually. Of course, NWA Hard Times coming up this weekend, Saturday.
Right.
Dothan, Alabama. That's going to be interesting. You know, we've moved to the CW app now. We have a relationship with the CW, and there was an announcement made this week. It's only kind of getting more steam as the reality show with Billy, and that's involving NWA and all the, interesting facets that go along with that. And so it's going to be, again, very, very it's an exciting time to be part of the NWA. Sure. It really is, because there's definitely like this. Okay, like, we're that company. We will fight, kick, scratch, claw. Like there's been ups, downs, but like there's that spirit that's never ever gone away of like who we are at our core, right? And I think a lot of things are starting to click now. Things are falling into place, and it's just a really, really great time to be part of the team.
It's so fascinating that, Aaron, that you even had to say that, almost like justifying, just because NWA is always going to be NWA. And we talk about it here in our backyard, Louisville. The NWA champion, the person that's holding the 10 pounds of gold right now, EC3, he's actually going around and gallivanting around Louisville. He's doing the stuff over there with Al Snow. So it's always going to be a big deal. And we've had him on the show. And maybe you could just kind of just talk a little bit about, the NWA and people. You said this on the Chris Van Vliet show. We'll get to that. It's a weird age of internet wrestling that we're in now, right? I mean, just people kind of want to just see like your WWE and your AEW and really not know where the roots came from. I'm talking about places where you worked and you've shined previously, OVW and NWA. I mean, like, you've been a part of the big leagues everywhere. What more does it stand out being a part of NWA that's so more unique than other places that you've been?
Well, again, NWA kind of, at its core, in the most basic archetypal form, we are traditional American wrestling, and I say it like that. And I think
2 S's, baby, wrestling.
Yes, and that's like so. Daniel Hill, who's a mutual friend of ours.
Shout out to Daniel Hill.
Absolutely. Again, great acting coach too, has coached me to another role and everything. And Oh yeah, the show I was in won an Emmy, so that was kind of cool.
Buried the lead with that one. We got an Emmy winning person on our show, guys. Can you believe that? That's how far we made it.
You know, it's something. But no, it's cool. It's like you know, where we're at. Like, we are North American television wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm talking Canada, US. When television came out, someone figured out, wait a minute, this is like Shakespeare in tights, or less. There's wrestling, we have less, far less spandex. But, regardless, there's a formula that worked, right? And there's a formula, like there is a reason, and I'm not knocking anyone. And I don't know if I've said this before, but for years, right? And this is before the age of the internet and everything, but I ask you this, given recent events with Dolph Ziggler and Matt Riddle, I believe it is.
Yes.
Like, given those events, ask yourselves this. Why is it when any North American television wrestler goes elsewhere, they are the attraction? And again, there's far more like Japanese crossovers. I think AEW people are more aware. But when I'm talking about presentation of character, that's all, right? This is just, This is like when a star from the WWE is brought anywhere.
Yeah.
They are the attraction. And that's because North American television wrestling, or wrasslin, as we like to say, has always been about creating stars.
Yep.
Right? It's you fall in love with the personalities. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at, again, I mean, my God. Okay, so Hulk Hogan back in the day, right? We've had Stone Cold Steve Austin. These people, again, regardless of what you think of them, larger than life. And now let's go back to the 80s. Was anyone more over than JYD?
No.
Like, JYD, it was out of the 80s, by far my favorite. I mean, he would come down, him and Hacksaw.
Yeah.
Right? Like, people always slept on JYD. I mean, and not that JYD isn't I mean, he is. The guy's, he's definitely immortalized, but they don't give him enough credit.
Yeah.
As just like when the wrestling boom happened, and okay, Vince went national, and for the first time, you have one company and these wrestlers being presented in such a way, and it is now nationally seen on NBC. And wow, like you talk about America falling in love with some people instantly, right? Like JYD, it was instant.
Yes.
Hacksaw, it was instant, but then again, there was the Iron Sheik where you had the opposite of that. So the thing was, you could grab onto these characters, and instantly, once you kind of let them endear themselves to you, or been kind of like, okay, like you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
The rest takes care of itself. And that's the number one missing ingredient in pro wrestling today.
Oh my gosh. And I was just watching.
I know that was long-winded. Sorry.
No. My gosh. This is why me and you get along, and I'm part of radio, dude. I could talk. My girlfriend has selective listening.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. I was just watching. I'm doing a 39 days. I'm trying a 39 days of WrestleMania marathon going on. And I was watching WrestleMania 2 when Junkyard Dog, I can't remember who, he was Tito Santana. Tito Santana taking on the Funk Brothers. And like, I'm sitting there noticing the production is much more different back when WrestleMania first started. There's not a whole lot of production. There's really not a whole lot of merch. I think only Hulk Hogan had a theme song. But then you go to WrestleMania 2, your true characters had the t-shirts. There was only Hulkamania shirts, Hot Rod shirts, and surprisingly enough, Junkyard Dog shirts. And when that son of a bitch came out, dude, that crowd went nuts. He went nuts.
No,
and I'm shocked because I always knew of him. I always kind of understood. And like, I've heard the people talk about him, the Pritchards, the people in the industry talk about him, but just like sitting there and watching and understanding, just kind of blown away.
No. Like, JYD is just like, I mean, he is just some like, because again, like I'm partial to people that, get over and like don't necessarily need the world heavyweight title.
Sure.
and like I've always kind of prided myself in that.
Yeah.
You know, but like I don't bow down to anyone, but JYD I bow to.
Yeah.
Because there was just like that. I mean, man. And again, why couldn't like I don't know. I always saw things right as like, you know, the champion or whoever the guy is, right? And I understand Hogan needed to be champion back then.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk booking for a second?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, pal.
Yeah, right. And where I can understand the reasoning at wanting to keep like, okay, this is our champion. We need to ingrain him with the title in the public's eye, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the right decision. Obviously, it was the right decision, right? Like, look at what happened for WWE. But I mean, when you look at that roster, right? So again, JYD, we've been, and I'm glad we're talking about him, give him the credit he deserves. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I mean, you tell me that the public to this day, they are in love with Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
How many 5-star matches has Jim Duggan had?
Because when you are a star, you don't need a star rating.
Nope.
There, you know what I mean? And that's the truth. Like
I think that that's a beautiful way of looking at it, just because everyone falls into the and you mentioned it on Chris Van Vliet's show that there was a skeleton of what you had to be to become a pro wrestler, and then you learned your pro wrestling from Kowalski, but you really got into school with OVW. And Cody Rhodes has said that too. Like, he didn't have a college experience, he had a Louisville experience. And once you got to OVW, of course, that was a part of the system. They taught you, like, you knew how to work, but now, like, you're a wrestler on television, as you said. Now you're like learning what to hit. You're learning how to soak things in, learning how to react, and like you said before, you're learning how to carry a television angle somewhere in the boonies, somewhere in Paducah, people that's not watching, and you're just kind of keeping that angle going. That art has been lost along the way, and just only with the what is it called, CrossFit training, and just the throwing stuff, and it's I don't know where they got lost along the way, but you shed a perfect good light on it when talking about it.
No, and the reason it went away is because a bunch of halfwits opened up wrestling schools that had no business doing so.
Yeah,
you know. I am not a trainer. I don't consider myself a wrestling trainer. I don't have the patience to teach anyone. But there are some very good trainers out there. And you need to simply ask yourself, what have they done? Have they ever made a living at this? If you have never depended on pro wrestling as your primary source of income, and I ain't talking about people that are doing side jobs and no, I'm talking about like you are on television being flown out, you know what I mean? And then that is how you do it. You have no business training, you know, because I'm seeing now that there are people that are trainers that are unable to put a side headlock on correctly. I'm not exaggerating, right? And that's very sad, right? But
always love the term. I hate to cut you off. Always love the term. Wouldn't know a wrist lock from a wrist watch. Always love that one.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, 100%. And then, but the term today is you don't know an empty arena from a full one, because you're working for yourself. So you're not working for the people, and you think, oh, this will be good. People will see it, and I'll stick it on my Instagram. Like, okay, but guess what? They're going to see a million moves like that, right? Give them a show. Give them, like, there was a poll about AEW where it said, yeah, it's not as fun as it was. Like 85% of fans are saying it's not as fun as it was. Because you know what? Again, I think philosophically, it's like you're trying to go with a more competitive kind of, like, it's a style that does not translate booking-wise to North America. Mm-hmm. Bottom line. And it's no one's fault, right? Like, you can be an amazing, you know, booker in like for a more like kind of shoot style, like Japanese, right? And again, I do not know a lot about Japanese wrestling. I have a tremendous amount of respect for it. Look at the legends it's created.
Sure.
And it's just, again, it's not my forte, right? I can't speak intelligently enough about it, right? So I'm not going to say anything except they're incredible athletes, and you know, there's been there's definitely been people that have been able to, like, Tajiri's amazing. You know what I mean? And people that have an understanding of both markets, the Dean Malenkos, you know what I mean? Yep. And it's great. But like, if you look at it from this way, right? if you cannot tell people who you are in 3 to 5 seconds, and this is the simplest way I can put it, and I'm talking about if they're flipping through the channels or if you come through a curtain and you're in a room, whether you're at Madison Square Garden or a rec center, right?
Mm-hmm.
People need to know who you are. And if you don't, and if you're like, well, what do you mean know who I am? If you have to ask yourself that question, then you're thinking in the wrong way. And that's like, that's advice to any wrestler. I hope I didn't get too philosophical and deep there, Austin. I don't want to like.
No,
right.
that statement has been echoed on our show before. I mean, Al Snow has came on and he's been a big proponent of saying that. We all know Al Snow, a huge character guy and huge, like, watching him. You've got the chance to check out Wrestlers on Netflix, right? You got the chance to really scope through all that. You got to visit you visited Al and OVW a couple times since being back, haven't you?
Absolutely. No, love it there. Like I said, that it's like I feel like I'm home when I'm there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just like that weird nostalgic feeling.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very cool place. And
I got to let you know, because a lot of the times I feel like maybe everyone had this spot in pro wrestling, at least growing up. Of course, I was a diehard wrestling fan. I lived in Tucson, Arizona, my whole life. I had family here. This is where we came for vacation. And I remember my dad always saying, well, there's a Ohio Valley Wrestling here. And I'm like, what's that? I didn't know the internet and all that. And I started, paying attention, found out that they had the connection with WWE. And that's, that's where I was privy to you, Nick Dinsmore. And I was privy to, I think it was the very last of Brock Lesnar, if I can remember.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I really got to go see. And I just loved it. That was one of my first, I don't remember my first NFL games sometimes, but I remember the sights and sound of walking in to Davis Arena. And it's just like so one thing that draws me back to that, I remember the Summer Sizzling series. They did this at Kentucky Kingdom. And I remember it seems like several times where I came down, because I always came down in the summer, you were the heel and you were always facing the WWE guy, it seems like. Am I correct? Did you ever take on Cena during one of those shows?
Yes.
I can't. Okay. I remember you definitely taking on Cena. I think he came out in a Hummer and it was raining that day, if I can remember.
No. That was like the year after, because I didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, it was actually, we had nice weather for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you could just kind of just take me back through kind of memory lane, to me, that was like the peak OVW. Is that what you remember it as? Or was there like a many, or was there like another version in your mind?
No, that was OVW. That was the Six Flags Super Summer Sizzler series. And it's like every time, because I'm a Louisville guy, when I'm on Crittenden by the airport,
yes.
Oh my God. When I drive by it, I'm like, ooh.
Oh, you see that Batman arena, that Batman theater?
Yes. That was, and that's what I'll say. That was a very, very fun time. And I look back on my OVW days, we had a lot of fun.
Did they have a big area for you backstage? As I look at it now, the skeletons of it, it doesn't look like too much remains. So they hooked you up pretty well.
No, we had trailers and everything, and there was all kinds of fun to be had.
That stuff was, that stuff was amazing several times. I remember Cena coming down. I remember Jerry the King Lawler coming down. I think Eddie Guerrero at some point, and it was that stuff was just absolutely fun. I remember one time Nick Dinsmore, Eugene, he was in the Eugene character. He came out to one of the loudest pops I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And he started beating the hell out of people with a kendo stick. And it was, man, my heart flutters thinking about it. I find myself working at the Expo Center a lot, whether if I'm doing Louder Than Life or if I'm doing any activations out there with the fine people at the Expo Center. I always look over to that area right next to that T2 machine. And I think, man, that's hollow ground when we're talking about OVW and wrestling to me is Kentucky.
Yes, man. Absolutely. So
one of the other things, let's kind of jump forward a little bit just because, and here's where I want to kind of get to talk about it. We're coming into WrestleMania season, and like you said, there's no better time to be an NWA fan. There's no better time probably to be a wrestling fan. I can only imagine everybody gets heightened and everybody's best stories come out and everything like that. you've been a part of WrestleMania season. You've been a part of, obviously, one of your biggest acts that probably didn't even really mean to get over. I'm pretty sure you came on the show and said that before, working with Mizdow. And you guys had a WrestleMania moment. I think it was WrestleMania 31 is when you guys, it was after several months of doing the Mizdow character, and you finally made the change. And here's a couple of things where I want to talk about booking and WWE in your time there, whether who the powers that may have been in charge. Talk to us, maybe if you could talk about like that sort of split. I can only imagine you and Miz were having a great time doing that. There's several schools of thought in my mind just as a wrestling fan, just because I know that there's some vindictiveness in the WWE. Sometimes I think that at least during some previous administrations that they kind of like to rid people and throw people together just because we don't have anything for you, pal. But I can only imagine you guys made something out of nothing with that. And then you guys kind of you get to a point where you have to split. Like, what's kind of going through your mind? Like, do you think that, all right, I kind of made something out of myself with this Mizdow character, or do you kind of think that everything's kind of done after that split, after that big moment at Mania? Sorry if that was a long-winded question.
No, not at all. Not at all.
My head's everywhere.
No, that's fine. And like to answer your question, right? Like, it's always, to me, right? Like look at Sandow, look at Mizdow, right? All right, whatever made them what they were. If I am given consistent television time, I pretty much take care of the rest.
Sure.
That's my thing, right? And that's all that was. It was consistent television time. So, look, with Miz and I, yes, you could only go on so long, and we both thought, hey, now's the time. Did the deal. Again, the WrestleMania thing didn't happen. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll just wait till they throw me in something else. And it's like, what can you do? I do know that towards the last month or so leading up to Mania, there were certain people who were throwing around questions that didn't need to be throwing them around. And again, I'm not going to name names, but
sure.
Well, where do we go after this? It's like, you're a wrestler. You're not in the creative team. Like, why do you care? You know what I mean? Like, you care because, yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you care because you don't want anyone. You have your own interest to protect. Yeah. Right. So, like, stick your nose up. But that was indicative of, wasn't just saying it to me. It was saying it to other people. Yeah. And, all right, what do you do? What can you do? Like, at that point, I mean, look, it is what it is. And there's only so much that a talent can control. And, look, at the time, I was a lot more emotionally invested in wrestling now, or then, sorry. And I'll never let wrestling get to me like that again. And because that respect of it, where I have this kind of weird cognitive distance, like, and I know I didn't mean to say dissonance. I meant distance because, like, I don't let my brain engage in a lot of aspects of wrestling, right? Which allows me as a performer to be able to function within the margins that I need to function in. I hope that didn't sound like the ramblings of a madman, because I assure you there's a fine line between genius and insanity, and you can make up your mind. But
probably about 90% madman. No, it's about 90% madman of an answer, and I probably wouldn't expect anything else from Aron the Idol Stevens on the Babyfaces podcast on iHeartRadio. I do have. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about a man like Jackie Earl Haley, right? Wasn't he in that shit? It was in the movie part, right?
Okay.
I think Mad or no. I'm thinking so, right? Yeah, he played the guy with the face. Who's the guy? The face cloth with the Madman. Dude. There's so much I get mixed up.
I get it. People say I look like John Hamm. So
let me ask you a question. Before we split, and I guess we'll just we've hardly said name dropped any names. Let's just say there's that split. Just as an actor, and I've had listened to several times where people have respectively just walked into the power, whoever powers it be, whether that be Vince, Laurinaitis, and just say like, hey, like, what are we doing with the character? Like, I know you also said that you weren't into politicking too. You're just kind of, you're a pro's pro, Aaron. You just kind of, it just seems like was there ever going into there and saying like, okay, what am I doing next? Or do you just kind of find out the next couple weeks? Like what they have you with like Bo Dallas doing a couple back to your dressing up game. Like, is that something that you kind of have like, all right, what are we doing after this now? Cause it seems like you're the kind of guy that at least like take interest in his character enough to do that. And I could see where you could get fed up afterwards.
Yeah. But I mean, like me, I'm weird. Like I have this, we'll call it bravado. It's borderline arrogance, but it has to be, right? Like, no, in order for me to perform like I have to, right? Because if I'm not thinking about wrestling all the time and this and that, and I have to show up, and then this is what I did in WWE, by the way. So it's like a twofold answer to your question. Don't talk to the writers. If they want me to know something, they'll let me know, right?
Interesting.
If not, chances are they'll get my marching orders and I'll do it.
Yeah.
But as a character, no, like you tell me what I'm doing. I mean, literally at NWA, there have been times where I have been told what my promo is as I'm going through the curtain.
Yikes. I mean,
does
that make it interesting though?
No, not yikes. I do it because like I want to do it. Like I'll say, don't tell me, don't tell me, don't tell me. And I'll tell my agent, all right, what am I doing? You know, this it happened more in Georgia, but
yeah.
But no, like to me, as a character, I don't make mistakes.
Sure.
I don't. And it's like people mess up in the ring. The whole thing, oh my God, what do we do? And then they panic. And no, if you're in character, you don't mess up. And that's the difference, right? So that's what I've always done in WWE. And yeah, like I wasn't a politicker, right? For me to go and knock on Vince's office and what do I have to do to get a push? No, what you have to, like, I'm going to get over. All right. And look, I mean, my body of work, right? Good, bad, and different. And people will look at me a number of different ways, right? I kind of can't deny my crowd reaction, right?
Wow.
And so that was my, like, all right, like if you don't see that, then okay, then you're like just not wanting to use me.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's it. Like you want to go in a different direction, right? Like you don't want to make me the guy. So that's fine. Like there's nothing I can do to convince you other than get over. I'm not going to stab people in the back, which was encouraged. You know, I'm not going to, kowtow and kiss anyone's backside for the sake of doing it. No, I'm going to go out there, perform, do my job, and do it to the best of my ability.
Sure.
Bingo. I mean, that's it, right? Like
that's a great thing. That I mean, just like I said, that's a pro's pro, and they're just kind of like understanding like this is what the fans want, and this is because you're not going to be the type to ruin a show, and you're not a vindictive person whatsoever, and of course, wrestling seems to be very easy to get. Or it seems like the person's not in the right mindset. It's very easy to get cynical, right? And it doesn't seem like, sure, you may have had either bad experiences or the way things let go, but at least I get the vibe from you that everything happens for a reason. Oh, yeah. You did what you did, and then you're here because of it, and you sound grateful because of everything.
Oh, I am. Yeah, like I said, life is it's very interesting right now. Like there's been, appearance on the Gutfeld show.
Yeah,
that's kind of leading down some other doors. The stuff
one of the funniest shows on Netflix. I think you should leave. I mean, we buried the lead with that one. You're on that. It's a fantastic shit. The drive-through scene.
Like I'm getting offers now to do projects. I'm like, oh, okay, I can turn down movies. Oh, this is nice.
Yeah.
But and it's weird how like one thing like that will go and again winning an Emmy, and they actually used the screenshot of Tim and I.
Yes.
For the thing that said they won an Emmy, and that was like the snapshot they used for the press. I was like, oh, that's
better than winning some stinking briefcase, right?
Oh yeah, whatever. We saw that in it.
Right.
But yeah.
I think that's fantastic. I mean, whatever iteration that you're in, whether you're on Netflix, OVW, NWA, whether I'm watching you on the Peacock network from back in 2013, hell, maybe we're talking back in 2009 when you're like playing a security guard, probably getting your ass kicked somewhere at the Dunkin'
I never
Donuts
did that actually.
You never did one of those. I feel like you know what? Who I think it is, and maybe now that I sit here and think about it. You and Cliff Compton, that's Deuce or Domino, right? Which one
Domino.
was Deuce? Domino. You both have that same heel face, and you both have like this Jack look.
I think it was him.
I'm pretty sure I remember waking my dad up because I remember him like taking me to an OVW show. And later on that I remember someone was playing security guard for Triple H, and I remembered that face. It was OVW. I ran and woke my dad up. It's a school night. He's got it. The OVW guys on TV. He's on TV. And by the time I got down, it's on commercial. Like, you know, they played the replay of the cops getting their ass kicked, but you can't tell. Oh boy. That was, I just remember, but yeah, I thought that was you, but you guys kind of have like you guys are both heels that I hated back in the day.
Oh, thank you. I
mean, which is Deuce and Domino love their tag team, by the way.
They were
absolutely
awesome.
Fantastic.
Yes.
I still jam out to their WWE entrance music. They have like that 50s, like ba 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 boo, and that fantastic. Like that's OVW. Them, Cody Rhodes, Sean Spears, that's Ohio Valley Wrestling, dude. Are you have plans to go back and be go back anytime soon and work with them, or can you spill the beans on anything with like? I would love to see you on OVW TV sometime, man.
Yeah, hey, you never know, right? Stay tuned. But again, like NWA, if you haven't downloaded the CW app, it is free.
Yes.
And again, it's wrasslin, as we say. It's that like the heart of it. It's that old school wrestling. Billy's done a phenomenal job. The show looks amazing. Like the artistry of some of the sets and stuff we have now, and it's really kind of.
It's like it never left, right? It's like it stayed in that time capsule.
Yeah, it's like it stayed in the time capsule, but it's definitely like our own version, right? Like what Billy brings to the table.
Yeah.
And it's like all that awesomeness has been sort of just married to like the old school kind of feel. And it's just, it's awesome. Like I really, really am like, and I told Billy this, I was like, man, as much of a traditionalist as I am, I go, this set is incredible.
It's exciting to be a part of. I can only imagine.
Yeah, so it's cool. It's just a cool place. And again, Dothan, Alabama. That is March 3rd. That's this Saturday.
Yep.
And we're just we're getting ready for it.
Heck yeah, brother. Where can people follow you on Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call that? You got a pro wrestling tees. Where can people support you at, Aaron?
So Instagram, it is the Aaron Files, TheAron Files. And X, Twitter, Aaron's Thoughts, ARONS Thoughts.
Awesome. Well, like I said, dude, whatever facet you've been to, whether you're Aaron the Idol Stevens, Damian Sandow, whether you're angry guy not trying to pay the gracious tab on I think you should leave. You've been very entertaining. I can't even tell you how gracious I am to have you. This has been awesome. I hope to have you on again sometime, man.
Hey, it was fun. Thank you.
Yeah.